To remain updated with the latest business news, click on the bell icon.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Today. I'm Sakshi Batra, and this is the discussion about salary hikes that you are going to have over the next 10 minutes. Aon has launched its 26th annual salary increase survey of 2022, and to share all the findings of the survey this time around, I have with me a very special person joining in, Mr. Jang Bahadur Singh, who is the Senior Consultant Performance and Rewards at Aon, joins right in. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out time. Pleasure having you with us. So help us understand your key finding for the year 2022. Are we going to see more hikes than what we have in the previous 1 or 2 years? I ask you this because we are sitting at the backdrop of two years of pandemic, when we have seen job cuts and salary cuts as well. So help us understand, are we looking at a brighter future?
Sure. No, thanks, Sakshi, and a very, very warm welcome to all the viewers. I think all indicators are there in terms of business sentiment being very, very positive. The industry results that have been coming out over the past 2 months have seen both an increase in top line and also improvement in bottom line. So absolutely, I think even from a salary increase perspective, we are looking at overall increase of 9.9%, which is actually going to be the highest since 2016. In fact, this is a 6-year period, the highest increase in 6 years. So from an employee standpoint, absolutely, this is going to be one of the highest salary increases in recent memory.
Well, absolutely. This sounds good news for all of us. The highest salary hikes in the last 6 odd years, 9.9% up on average right there. So what gives you the confidence this time around? What has actually reflected in your study? Is it the macro economy and the improvement right there that is going to be fueling this kind of a hike? What are you really seeing?
Yeah. So I think what has really led to this is one, the threat of the pandemic has subsided, or you can say the business has learned to live with the pandemic. There's inbuilt resilience that has given confidence. The other piece is the impact of the services sector. So if you look at what's happening, whether be it in IT, whether be it ITES, whether be it professional services, we are seeing massive growth come in, especially on the account of the fact that India is the leading outsourcers of technical and technology related skills. And these are the sectors which are really driving up the 9.9% number, wherein in some of these sectors, we're actually expecting double-digit increases. Which means that from an overall India perspective, the services sector is really booming, and which is really leading us to this number of 9.9% overall.
Okay, understood that. But I also wanted to ask you, these increments are still far away from the highs that we had seen of the last decade. So do you expect that also to happen anytime soon, or are we still, there's a long way to go to achieve that?
Yeah. So I think while the overall business sentiment is positive, I would still say that we need to tread with a little bit of caution, because the fact is that across the world, inflation is at all-time high. There is political uncertainty that continues. And from an India Inc. story as well, there are segments, be it travel, be it hotels, be it restaurant, and even certain areas within the manufacturing that are yet to hit pre-pandemic levels. So until their growth is equitable across, I don't think that we'll hit the 14%, 15% highs of mid-2010s. But definitely, as a growing economy, as a maturing economy, I think if things do fall in place, then 9.9% number and beyond could be sustainable.
Okay. Also wanted to ask you, since you said the services sector is definitely booming, right now is the time when a whole lot of focus is on the new age digital technology companies as well. We have seen a plethora of them hit the stock markets with huge valuations as well. There is constant stir debate around the valuations they are commanding vis-a-vis the earnings they have at this point in time. So particularly for this segment, what is our outlook right here and on the salaries front in these spaces?
Absolutely. So I think when you look at the entire India growth story, the new age sector is really at the forefront of it, be it the IT services giants, be it your newly crowned unicorns. In fact, in the last year or itself, almost 35 companies have achieved the unicorn status. And as is natural with growth comes investment. So if we also correlate it back to salary increases that these specific companies are doing, they're almost doing 1.2 times, 1.3 times of the India average number. The fact is that when we look at new age companies, there's a wave of innovation that's really hitting the country over the last 12 months, and there's a lot of foreign investment that has also come in. In the last year audit itself, there's more than 10 billion US dollars that has been pumped into the new age sector. So I think all of the indicators, because today's new age sector, the cost of capital is low. There's a lot of confidence because of the many successful exits that have happened. So all of these are leading to the corollary that the new age sector is doing well. And even if you look at what's happened during the pandemic, is that the consumer behavior itself has changed.
Yes.
And what that means is that as a service provider, the way you sell your services have also evolved. Almost every company has had to scale their digital channel. They've had to build on their digital capabilities. And from a new age sector, this is good news, because these are the firms that will either help them scale these channels, or these are the firms that will help them provide services to scale their channels at the end of the day. And which means that if your clients there's more demand coming in for new age sector, the services that new age sector provides, then it will also reflect in salary increase numbers for them.
Got that. But why is it that the old economy companies are still unable to match these kind of levels? Is that a concern or worry right now?
So I would say not an immediate worry per se, because if you look at the numbers that the manufacturing bigwigs came out with, they did see a growth in terms of their bottom line. But the fact is that if you look at how the Indian economy is constructed, a large chunk of it is with your manufacturing bigwigs. And because the base is so huge, the growth percentage naturally cannot match a growing sector. Having said that, I think from a India economic perspective, because of the pandemic, demand from rural segment did get hit, and inflationary pressures have meant that they are not able to transfer while there are inflationary pressures that are increasing cost of production for them. At the same time, India is a price sensitive market, and it's not possible for them to transfer the price back to the end consumer, which has meant that probably when it comes to bottom line, when it comes to their profitability over the last 12 months, they're still getting out of the pandemic. Because remember, pandemic and the entire lockdown was a jolt to the system. No one expected it. So it'll take some time for them to come back to it, back to their pre-pandemic levels.
Absolutely. Another question that I had was in comparison of India with the BRIC countries and the developed world, we're still seeing salary hikes as being the highest. Does this actually limit the upside in future?
Yeah. So in fact, not just salary increases, but even if you adjust for inflation, it is still the highest. The closest to India in that case is then China. So I think the India shining story is still true and alive. In terms of the costs, the talent costs rising to a degree that we become non-competitive, or I don't think that will happen, because of if you look at the dollar to INR ratio, there's the rupee has weakened over the as compared to the dollar over the last few months. So the cost arbitrage remains. The other piece is that India is the largest outsourcer of technology and related skills. Now, while there is competition from other geographies like Mexico, Eastern Europe, Philippines, Singapore, but the scale at which India operates, none of these economies can match. The sheer supply of talent and also the maturity, because India has been in this space for the last 20, 30 years. So the maturity, the scale, none of the other geographies can compete. So in fact, during the pandemic itself, you'll be surprised, there was almost an influx of foreign companies into the country because the global supply chain was disrupted. They needed a reliable, risk-free alternative. So I think while talent costs are rising, because the cost arbitrage on dollar to rupee remains, the fact that no other geography can match the size and scale. And thirdly, even in their host country, the talent costs are rising. So if you pick up BRIC nations, if you pick up developed economies, even there the inflation is all-time high, and they're also their salary increase numbers are also going up. So I think given all of this, I don't see there's an immediate cause for worry or threat of us becoming uncompetitive when it comes to talent costs.
Got that. Your survey also mentions a double-edged sword for employers. On the
Yeah.
one hand, we are seeing higher increments in this 2022 as per your survey, but also they're faced with record high attrition at this point in time. So what's really happening and why is this happening?
Yeah. So I think look at it this way. One, there's so much of demand for their services, their products, and
Mm,
to deliver those demands, they need at the end of the day capability or talent or employees. Now, what's happening is that because suddenly the economy opened up in 2021,
mm,
remember in 2022, while we're talking about record high attritions in 2021, 2020 probably saw the lowest in a decade. So all those people who couldn't move in 2022, once the economy opened up, they found an opportunity. We spoke about the fact that a large part of growth today is coming from the digital economy, where companies are trying to scale capabilities. And it's not just happening in one sector, be it manufacturing, be it financial services, ed tech, fintech, everyone wants a chunk of the pie. And thirdly, even during the pandemic, because there was so much of remote working, in fact, the employee-employer bond also weakened. The strength, the camaraderie that somewhere got lost, and which meant that people found it just easier to switch jobs. So
mm.
attrition is rising, and at the same time, because there's so much of demand, the companies also have to react to it. And on one hand, attrition is rising, and if you talk to anyone today from hiring and talent acquisition, they'll tell you it's very difficult to even get people in.
Mm.
Candidates come in, walk in with 3 or 4 offers. They are looking at increases on top of increases. They are the kind of money that they are asking just to come in and walk in the door is getting difficult for organizations to manage. So that's
Yeah.
where it's a double-edged sword. On one hand, you're faced with attrition, you have challenges to bring people in. So it's a tricky job for being an HR professional today.
Absolutely, I understand that. I also wanted to ask you something which has become more or less a reality in all of our lives over the last 2 years is work from home culture, especially in India, which was never prevalent before. What's your outlook in this space as we come out of the third wave as well, hopefully with no more waves coming,
Yeah.
again, and, we are looking at the brighter side of tomorrow. What is your outlook on work from home? And does that also figure in your survey with in terms of salary hikes? Now, is work
Yeah.
from home at all going to be included in the salary hikes as well, or is it going to be seeing a wrong side? Perhaps if you choose a
Yeah.
work from home, you will get lesser salary hikes or something like that, so that most viewers get aware of what's
Yeah.
really happening in the industries.
Yeah. So I think the work from home can be broken down into 2 parts. There's a
Mm,
short-term trend that is in response to the pandemic. That's
yeah.
almost like a forced option. When we
Mm,
did the survey, Omicron had just hit the Indian shores, and organizations were hesitant in opening up. I mean, some of them had made plans and then they had to defer. But I think over the last month or so, they have been able to understand the impact, and and more clients we speak to, they are talking about opening up offices soon. So I think in the immediate future, unless God forbid a fourth wave comes in, I think over the next 3-4 months we will see a majority of the offices opening up. But
yeah.
I think from a long-term perspective, work from home is a trend that is here to stay. Simply because we spoke about the war for talent, how everyone is gunning for the same set of people, and by operating in remote working models, you get in access to a very huge, broader, untapped talent market. So imagine today, sitting in Bangalore, I want to hire someone in say Ahmedabad, Vadodara, which may not have been possible a few years back. So just by operating remotely, and I give that employee an option to work from their base location, and they don't want to move to a new city, and be a part of my organization. So that just creates endless possibilities. And I've given an example of India, and then you can go ahead and multiply it, with someone sitting in Philippines, Singapore, Eastern Europe. So there's a huge, broader market that opens up for you in terms of talent supply.
Mm,
I think from a cost perspective, while we have heard some, or rather, while we have seen some IT majors, especially in the US, uh, offering different compensations for people working out of different locations and working remotely, I think in India, it's a slightly different story. Number one is that unlike some of the developed world, we are under a unified tax scheme. So it's not as if, that if I'm sitting in the Silicon Valley in
yeah.
States, where taxation is completely different to say where Midwest is. So that doesn't apply to India. The other piece is there is so much demand for talent today that even if company A decides to say that I want to cut costs if I am hiring someone from tier 2, there's another company sitting out there who's willing to hire that employee at the original cost. Because there's so much of demand for talent, at least in the near future, we don't see location based coming in. Our survey also indicates that uh, almost 70% of the companies spoke about the fact that they're not really looking to have different or location based compensations in place.
Okay.
There are certain that already had in place and they continue, but not a lot of the new companies want to move into this model.
All right, got that. Thank you so much then on this note to discuss and share all the insights on what can we really expect on the salaries front going into 2022. Thank you so much. It's been very valuable and precious to speak with you on this entirely interesting topic for everybody of our viewers as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sakshi. Pleasure.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.